Hi, this is Dave Glattly, the Sovereign Grand Commander of the Northern Masonic Jurisdiction, Scottish Rite, saying you're listening to the Masonic Light Podcast.
Starring Pete Ruggieri, Larry Maris, and Jason Lewis. This podcast is not endorsed by any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous ramblings of the hosts are their own. So sit back and enjoy some Masonic conversation without pretension. And now, here's your hosts, Pete, Larry, and Jason.
And Jack. Hey, that's me. Hey, everybody. It's Pete from Masonic Light Podcast. Jason wants me to be positive, so here we are.
Woo! Positive Pete.
It's episode 41. Or maybe it's episode 40.5 or 42, but I think it's 41.
I'm positive that it's after 40.
There we go. So,
this is 41. The other one was 40.5.
Yes, there we go.
Which we have not aired that.
Right.
Privately, we have.
Because it really should be aborted.
So, right.
No.
So the episode in which we're talking, in case we never release it, Larry and I did a show by ourselves. We just turned on our microphone and started recording, and we thought it was really
drunken
good.
stumble is what it was.
So Larry, because I know you have nothing. So
I have nothing.
What have you done the past couple weeks in Freemasonry?
Other than breakfast with goose and gridiron, that's it, pretty much.
And your wife's home from France.
Yes, I picked her up lodge night, so yeah, she's home.
You missed a great night. Jack, what have you had going on?
Not too much. This will probably be the last episode that I whine about the basement at my lodge.
It looks pretty on Facebook.
Oh, man, it is going to be so cool. We're trying to model it after Gothic Hall at Pennsylvania Grand Lodge. So it's old looking, it's red cushions, and it's great. Anybody that's listening that wants to see a really cool lodge, we have one in Ephrata. We don't claim anything beyond that, but we've got good ritual and a beautiful
Honestly,
lodge.
As far as that town goes, that lodge is pretty much the most exciting thing
that no one knows about.
Let me ask you a question. Are you going to have some kind of a celebratory opening? Or?
Well, because Freemasonry in Pennsylvania in the First Masonic District is so tightly programmed that there's not a lot of time to have a big hoo-ha grand opening ribbon cutting thing. So by the time this airs, this will have happened last week, but we're having what we're calling a soft opening tonight. There's a few things construction-wise that aren't done, and some other stuff that if there's anybody listening to this show really doesn't want to hear about. But we're almost there, and then we'll have our formal opening in December.
Are you going to bring a priest over to get the demons out?
No, we're going to get the commander of the Knights of Columbus to come over. Maybe the odd fellows will come. I have an in there.
I need an old priest and a new priest. Old priest and a young priest. Jason, you've had a lot going on.
I have. I've had a ton going on. Lodge 43 stayed in meeting, which was which was our veterans program. And we did a Sojourner's flag ceremony. I think all of our lodges have done that. But we cut the meeting pretty short, and we reopened and conferred all 3 degrees on a staff sergeant in the Army who will be deploying in January, but he's got 6 weeks of training, so he's pretty much out of here now to get ready for his deployment to Jordan, I believe. So that was pretty cool. We didn't get out till about 11:30 that night.
Mahar from our lodge is deployed here from Jordan. So that's kind of really awkward.
And our brother is going to go into harm's way, and Brother Mahar unfortunately was in harm's way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we talk about Mahar on the show, but he was in a nasty car accident. I hear he's doing well, but send a thank you card, send a get well card to Masonic Light, and we'll send it to Mahar, I guess.
Tots and pears.
So the day after the stated meeting, we had 3 Master Mason degrees and an Entered Apprentice degree, which normally we do our highest degrees first, reverse them so the Master Mason can stay for the Fellowcraft, stay for the Entered Apprentice, what have you. My dual membership lodge, your lodge at the moment, also had a first degree a first degree and a second degree on the same night, and they needed a couple extra people to fill in the seats for some unforeseen absences. So we did the first degrees first. They did their first and second. We did our first and 3/3. I was able to confer the first degree. One of our past masters conferred the first degree in 43. Then we switched. I went back over to help with the thirds, and our past master from 43 did the fellow craft in 476, and then came back.
Are you writing this all down?
To do the short third.
What was going on in 476? They needed all this help.
I had a couple guys call out.
Oh, okay, that's odd.
And then on Friday, Lodge 43 had our annual banquet, which was also my mother's 65th birthday. So if you've been paying attention, my 40th birthday a couple weeks ago, and it was my mom's 65th, and I said, Mom, I'll skip my banquet if you want. And she said, actually, I'll go. So my wife stayed home with the kids, and I took my mom to the annual banquet. So that was pretty cool.
That's very cool.
And I think that's about it. I'll interrupt somebody if I got more.
It's just me left and Pete, and I don't really have anything. Nothing official. Unofficially, I've been a sourpuss, but officially, nothing really going on. So we'll take a quick break, I guess. Hey, and we're back, but we're not back in the basement. We made an executive decision to scrap, save.
Well, you guys did 40.5.
Right.
And then we did 41. And 41 was so bad that we're doing...
We're calling it 40.75.
Yeah, this is
But
40.
even for us, like when we decide that we are being too negative...
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, if we self-police and we're too negative, so...
So we think that you heard last.
We did our introductions.
We did our introductions. We're going to talk about Cornerstone briefly, right? We should.
Right, and that was as a video that the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, or is authorized by the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, geared for younger Masons, geared for men under 40. So go ahead, Jason.
Well, the video was just released this week, and a really cool video, kind of in the style of what the Grand Lodge of Maryland had done, and also
lots of whoosh.
Yeah, lots of whoosh, whoosh, and kind of like what the Scottish Rite,
whooshy.
Which we'll talk about the Scottish Rite in a little bit here. But yeah, it's a cool video. Cornerstone, I believe, is a group that is put together by one of the district deputies and headed by a few past masters, current worshipful masters in our districts, geared towards younger men, and looks like they're going to be doing some events to attract some younger members. So good luck. Maybe they'll come on the show someday.
All right, Larry, did you have a comment on the Cornerstone Group?
Cornerstone, yeah, I love the music. I love the music because I'm a Doctor Who fan, and it just reminded me of Doctor Who. I expected the call box to show up in there somewhere. That's my comment. No, it was a good video. I think it was well done. I think it was very well done. And from what I understand, there were a lot of... it kind of went, what do they call that when it gets maximum exposure and people start...
Viral.
Viral, yeah, it kind of went viral, which is good, which is what it's meant to be.
And we've shared it on our page. Real quick before we continue talking about it, we should mention the...
Where we are.
Where we are. Where are we, Larry?
We are at the Goose and Gridiron breakfast this morning, and we had an overwhelming crowd, which is just phenomenal. And we're here, and we're actually recording live right now.
All of the money the Grand Lodge has given us to try to stop, we've used to buy more and more equipment.
So we have like 30 guys here.
Grand,
so it's kind of crazy.
I take that back.
Yes.
Grand Lodge has not said anything to us. Just a disclaimer.
All right, Jack, your thoughts on Cornerstone, real quick.
Real quick, I think it's great if we open up new channels to reach people. Jason has always been about variety and reaching out and communicating. And I think that's very important because the new generation communicates very differently than my generation, which communicates differently than the generations, ahead of us. So I think it's a great idea to reach out. What my hope is that we don't turn our backs on guys like me who are over 40 and in an effort to bring in guys that are under 40, because I've learned a lot from the older guys in my lodge. And that's really what Freemasonry is supposed to be about, is the three pillars: wisdom, strength, and beauty.
Is anybody older than you in your lodge?
Everybody is older than me in my
Speaking
life.
of which, we have a young gentleman here who just became a brother in the lodge, entered apprentice, and that's Tony Gibble. Why don't you tell us about your experience?
Let's ask him if he wants to be on the show first.
What you can talk about.
What I can talk about.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing experience thus far. Met a great group of guys.
Did he sign a waiver yet? A release form?
You feel like you've been put on the spot.
Yeah.
This is going to be on TMZ later.
He's a professional photographer. At least we're not taking pictures and sending them out.
Yeah, you usually hide behind a camera, not like speaking into a
microphone.
Yeah.
That about 40,000 people are going to hear in 62 countries. So it's Tony Gibble Photography in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And let me tell you, I'm going to give him a plug. He's great.
So here's my advice to you. And we talked about you guys. If your ears were burning the other day, there is the fellowship that you see in this room is kind of what I was looking for when I joined Freemasonry, and I never found it till the past couple of years. I found it in a few different groups and here. So I don't want you guys to be disheartened when you get through the process and you go to the lodge and it's the same old that we've been doing for 200 years. I mean, nice ritualistic opening, reading the minutes, paying the bills, a lackluster presentation, and then we close, and it's just like you wonder, I just lost 45 minutes of my life.
Well, the meetings are just
wait
that.
a minute.
They're meetings.
When I speak,
All right.
lackluster.
We started down a river that we've been before.
Just saying, this kind of fellowship that you're experiencing here is, I think, what you're going to get the most out of Freemasonry. It's what we all get the most out of.
Amen. I agree.
Yeah, the meetings are mandatory. I mean, not mandatory attendance, but we have to have the meetings to be organized. But this is the real deal. I would like to point out, though, that we didn't think that, Lamberton had asked that I do Tony's degree, and because of a conflict of schedules, I couldn't. And in an even more conflicted evening, I was able to do his degree.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. Really
So we don't want to put you on the spot. Anything else, Tony? Are you good?
I'm good.
All right.
Well,
That's
thanks for
good to
coming
have
on
you
the
with
show.
Without anything prepared.
He had the deer. He had the deer in the headlights
Now,
look, so I
if
figured
you-
I'd save him.
If you haven't listened to the show, you will now.
Now I have to.
Good seeing you, Tony.
Good to see you guys.
I would like to add that, we have 3 shows that I'm going to have to somehow.
That's why you make. That's why you make. That's why you make the big bucks.
Yes. That's right.
Let me drop back to something that Pete just said about he thought that this kind of fellowship is what there was going to be. It goes back to my thing about
Make it
be
happen.
the change you want to see, right? And it's because of you and Larry that this breakfast association happened. I think, and a couple other guys, Pete.
Mainly Larry. I
mainly
jumped on.
Larry.
Well, later.
But you wanted something more, and you made it happen, and that's what more people need to take ownership of, right? If you want to see a change in your lodge, you have to be the change that you want to see.
So if your lodge is falling apart and you're a past master, you should
That's
take an active
apropos
role
for
in
you, Pete.
fixing it.
That was Jeff Moyer of Jeff Moyer's Mentoring Minute.
I think I'm on double secret extra probation because I don't have a mic. So
We're just
There's a really good reason.
you can hold
to
mine
mic.
to go to the Masonic Center to help make pies. Now I have 2 mics. So, but Pete,
Just like that video we showed you.
So what Jack just said about making the change happen. We've had a discussion of you having a snit fit and leaving District 1 and going to 5. Yes. So one of
I'm making my change happen.
yeah. Well, in one of our charges, it says something to the effect that even when someone's behavior is
Justly reprehensible.
well, we don't want to do the exact
You did the
words.
first 7 words. I did the last 2.
But anyway, so that being said, with you're not liking the behavior in your lodge, but now you're doing the same thing.
Well, no. I was beating my head into the wall, giving advice that people weren't listening to. So to save my sanity and save myself from poisoning all these new young guys coming in, I'm just taking my talents to another city, just like LeBron James. And you see how well that worked out for him. He won a championship.
Talents. Are you in love with yourself?
I am. Well,
Your talents?
a little.
Does that mean you're going to get another ring?
I didn't realize you said thin skin. It's temperamental. I mean, This is a side of you I've never seen before. So, and by the way, I could probably have you blackballed in District 5.
I appreciate the love.
That's very Masonic.
Oh, geez.
All right,
Hey,
so
But for the right reason.
if we're done beating on me, because usually it's Larry.
We're not done with you yet. I'm trying to change your mind.
No,
this is not the venue to do that.
nobody has introduced our extra contributor, by the way. That's Jeff Moyer who's with us.
Jeff Moyer, yeah.
I didn't pay my phone bill, so I can't call in anymore.
Oh, well,
here
that's
live.
not that. That's
For my Mojo Magical or whatever it is, you guys.
we have no clue what we call it.
It changes.
Yeah.
It's fluid.
Jeff, I know we have one in the can that we can plug in, but are you prepared? Can you ad-lib one and do one live
That
right
was
now?
my mentoring moment with the Pete.
And that was Jeff's Magical Mojo Mentoring Minute.
Yeah. So those of you out there who don't know Pete very well,
He's like, do what I say or I'll get you blackballed. Okay, that's mentoring.
Pete's a very strong Type A personality, but now I'm seeing a very, very temperamental,
Passive aggressive.
thin-skinned side of you.
It's the meds.
So
It's the.
I wish you the best in District 5. And when are you moving?
If I'm accepted, it'll be tonight. So
Do you need help packing?
if not, I'm going to have to beg those guys from the Manitoba virtual lodge. I'll have to buy them a virtual cake or something.
Let me pack up that past message jewel for you.
Oh my goodness! So back to Cornerstone.
Yeah.
I'll just close out on that.
I'm finished.
You're done.
I can go make pies.
Go make pies with the old men.
Okay.
The over 40 guys.
Yeah. So I just say it's a great idea. Anything that anybody's willing to do in their volunteer time
Pies don't
to help this
discriminate.
organization, I'm all for it. I do agree. I think it should be. At least just don't use the words. Don't use the words for men under 40 because it automatically just kind of like puts a few people off.
Right.
Just say new Masons. It probably is going to be younger guys, but
I think if they gear their activities and they gear their marketing or whatever it is towards a younger crowd, but it's open to everybody, they'll attract the crowd that they want, and they'll probably be surprised by some of the people who want to participate as well.
Right, and that's all well and good, but we have to give them what we tell them we have. If we don't do those things that we purport to do, then they'll get in and they'll come to a stated meeting, and
we'll share the video on our Facebook page so you can see it. I mean, it basically says we're going to make good men better, like we always did, but it gets a little more specific, like mentoring, life, blah 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 blah. So one of the reasons, besides our show being horrible, one of the reasons why we're redoing it is we got a thing in the mail.
Oh, you mean our last show, not just in general?
The last show.
Okay.
So when we come back,
40.75.
the Northern Masonic Jurisdiction of the Scottish Rite sent out a survey called The Path Forward. So when we come back, we're going to talk about this survey. And it's a lot of things we've been saying, but now it's actually scientific. So we'll be right back.
It's Jason, and you're listening to Masonic Light Podcast, episode number 41. Officially, this will be episode number 41. You've heard some jokes about the multiple recordings. So this has been a fun week, and one of the joys that I have at the show is being the producer and putting the final package together for you all. So, Pete and Larry went rogue and recorded a little bit on their own. Then we followed up at Monarch Studios and then ultimately at Goose and Gridiron Breakfast, which you already know. What we didn't know at that time, while we were talking about the path forward and the new survey that the Scottish Rite has released, was a project that was started by Sovereign Grand Commander McNaughton and followed up by David A. Glattly up here in the Northern Masonic Jurisdiction. Well, little did we know later in that day that Pete would be able to spend some time with the Sovereign Grand Commander, and the Sovereign Grand Commander actually gave us a little bit of time to talk to him at the Harrisburg Scottish Rite reunion. So instead of playing all of our thoughts and critiques and which were, by and large positive. We're gonna scrap that today, and we're going to go right to the interview with the Sovereign Grand Commander. And maybe at a following show, we can follow up with our thoughts once we have an opportunity for it all to digest. We are very gracious, and a big shout out and thank you to the Sovereign Grand Commander, David A. Glattly, and also his travel partner, Michael Russel, who is the VP of Charity and Development. And without further ado, let's listen to that interview.
Hey, and we're here at Masonic Light Podcast. We have a special couple guests today. Let's see if we can get the full title correct. David Glattly, 33rd degree, Sovereign Grand Commander, and Michael Russel. He's Vice President of Charities, Director of Development for the Scottish Rite, Northern Masonic Jurisdiction.
Michael has an easier name.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you guys for agreeing to be on our silly show. It's weird how we got in this. We were a very grumpy group. And
Hey, speak for yourself.
He's our positive one. And we were grumping about how Freemasonry's doing everything wrong and they don't get it. And then we saw your survey.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my gosh, somebody gets it. Somebody finally gets it. And then I saw Tom, who's quiet off to my back right. He messaged over here, messaged to David, like, hey, these guys like what you did. So thank you very much. So David.
Pleasure to be here with you.
Could you tell us a little bit about the path forward?
Oh, sure. It started under Commander McNaughton, my predecessor, pretty much 2 years ago now. He was interested in getting a survey done so he could write a book to explain where Freemasonry is today. And we hired a consulting firm called Circone Brown out of Boston. And they're a professional company that did a survey for us across the country. We interviewed 1,000 non-Masons, and we also interviewed several hundred, maybe 1,000 Scottish Rite Masons with different questions. The interesting part about the non-Mason survey is once people started responding to that and to find that the values of Freemasonry are really what a lot of men are looking for out there, regardless of age. There was all various ages and various parts of the country. The thing we found out that there is nothing wrong with the product of Freemasonry, absolutely nothing. And we realized that the problem is our marketing.
And our marketing previously was all geared as, what do you think was the not good message, not so effective message that we were giving out before? I
think so many people didn't know how to explain Masonry out there to people, and there really was no organized marketing effort. I think the marketing effort came even by some lodges on their own or by Grand Lodges. So after the results that we found, we thought that we could be effective as the Northern Jurisdiction and provide some marketing materials for Freemasonry. Once we found that, we kind of knew the direction, and this consulting firm was very special because all of a sudden they understood us, and which was very hard for non-Masons to understand us. And they did. And they helped us come up with some great phrases and sayings and things to market. And they came up with 5 different storyboards for us to make commercials. And we picked one and went ahead with it, and that's the first one that's out there right now. So we have more to come down the road as we stretch out our budgets to get them done, because these are done professionally, and it's a high budget item.
I think that an aha moment for Commander McNaughton and the entire team was, I think we didn't really take care of our members, to answer your question. And something that Commander McNaughton really started a few years ago was remottoing the Scottish Rite to be 32nd degree Masons, and that we will strive to be a fraternity that fulfills our Masonic obligation to care for our own members. Not just caring for communities and not just caring for the world, but we have to take care of ourselves before we can take care of others. And I think that really is driven from results from the survey under Commander McNaughton and now under Commander Glattly is really what's kind of driving the entire marketing presence of the Scottish Rite.
How does a good man become even better? By working out? Or by working his way up the corporate ladder? By changing his diet? Or by changing his style? By traveling the world? Or by staying perfectly still? For 300 years, we've helped good men become the best versions of themselves through a dedicated fraternity and by taking an oath to live a life of integrity, service, and brotherly love. Men who are as committed to each other and their families as they are to our noble cause. In the end, we don't just make men better, we make them Masons. Not just a man, a Mason.
Let's talk a little bit about what you were doing with Hurricane Sandy.
Well, within a week of Hurricane Sandy, we had boots on the ground there with the gift cards that Commander McNaughton sent down $90,000 worth on the first week. We wound up distributing over $200,000 worth of $500 gift cards. And we did 3 per Masonic family, widows, whatever, right off the bat. And they could use those for ready cash. And some of the people that came up to me as we distributed the cards, one couple said, Dave, do you see these clothes we're wearing? They're not our clothes. A neighbor gave them to us. We don't have any clothes. And one of the widows said, my husband always said that if I ran into trouble, the Masons would help me. I was beginning to think you guys forgot about that.
Oh, wow.
And another couple told me that they didn't listen to Governor Christie, and they stayed in their house. They didn't evacuate. And as the water came in through the living room, they scurried upstairs. And the house shook, and the water, with the wind and everything, and they were in darkness. And when the sunlight finally came in, they went down the steps to their living room and had fish swimming in their living room. So it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, you don't expect that in the Northeast.
You don't.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful.
So we had sent down, and Dave had reached out to the Sovereign Grand Inspector General, SGIG, which is the equivalent of the deputy here, the head of the state in Texas, and got a hold of him, and we sent $200,000 in gift cards down for Masons and their families to support any way they needed. No questions asked if they had requested help. We were there to help because, again, we want to take care of our members. Our members are third-degree Masons and their families.
And you realize the states and the territory we are taking care of aren't part of the northern jurisdiction.
Right.
The southern jurisdiction doesn't have an almoner's fund like we have. Right. So we have the resources, so we reached out to help. We sent $150,000 worth of cards to the Grand Lodge of Florida. Mm-hmm. And recently we sent $40,000 worth of cards to the Grand Master of Puerto Rico. And we hope he receives them.
They're still in the mail somewhere?
Yeah, everything's delayed in Puerto Rico. It's such a mess down there. And as of the other day, I think they were still 50% without power. Mm-hmm. And our cards don't work if there's no power.
Wow.
Well, and even the pin that Dave's wearing right there it's something called the Commander Circle for someone who gives a $10,000 donation to the Grand Dominus Fund. And the Grand Dominus Fund is really the fund that supports all of this money to support our members. It truly is one of the most magnificent things, in my opinion, in Freemasonry.
One of the other things I noticed from the Northern Light and from the survey, in Pennsylvania, we have what's called the Master Builder Program. And it looks like you guys are starting something similar in the Scottish Rite.
We have a team that is amazing that just put together an education program that's rather deep. And I'm trying to think of the name of it right now, but it in French it means higher degrees, and it's basically a 3-part program. And I looked at it and I said, well, I could probably do the first section, but I don't think I can get through the second or third section. So I could do it. I mean, it's going to take a lot of effort to reach this level of education, and it's very, very well done by
Hauts Grades Academy.
Say it again, Michael.
Hauts, Hauts Grades Academy.
Yeah.
So kind of like Hogwarts.
Yeah, it's like Hogwarts, but cooler.
And we teach the Muggles how to be a magician.
And you have quite a dream team of scholars on that.
Yeah, Mohammed Yatim and Moises Gomez.
It's Mohammed Yatim, Yasser Al-Kahib.
Oh, yes.
And Oscar Allen.
Oscar Allen, yeah.
They're from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York.
Yeah, we've had Oscar on the show.
Now, did I see that Chris Hodap is involved in that as well, or did he just share that across his?
No, Chris. They're putting together the board of directors, if you will, that are going to review all of the work being turned in, and Chris Hodap has accepted to be part of that board.
Kind of like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
There you go.
You're right about that. Yeah. They are extraordinary gentlemen, and this is scheduled to be launched in January.
And they're no dummies.
There's some teasers out there now. They put together maybe 20 quizzes that are on the site right now, and this fully education launch is scheduled for January, and it really looks good. We had a lot of people craving that type of thing, and Southern Jurisdiction has theirs, and so we wanted to make sure we were taking care of our members, and that's what our Scottish Rite survey said. That's what members were looking for. So we're responding.
I'm excited. I signed up on the mailing list. So
yeah, I think that's an opportunity for what we realize on the show is we're kind of spoiled here in this part of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania Grand Lodge does a lot, but we have almost every appendant body. We can go to Elizabethtown and see the Academy of Masonic Knowledge, but we have our brothers that are in some of these other states that they don't have many options to learn some of this stuff unless they go hunt it in books. And it's nice for them to have a kind of a path.
Yeah,
forward.
And it's all over the internet, and there is no cost, no charge to it.
Okay, we'll just take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
sounds good.
So I was not on the tour, but tell me about it. You guys saw our Masonic building?
We did.
And the Learning Center.
We did. We started in the Learning Center, and they had just done some incredible work in there. Repainted the rooms with different colors, and getting to see, I am newer to this position, and it's the second Learning Center I've seen, and it's every time I go, it's just magnificent. As you walk down through the Learning Center on the right-hand side, they have a tree painted on the wall with chalkboard paint. And the tree has the pictures of all the youth, and as they progress throughout the program, they progress throughout the tree. And it really is a visual representation of how our centers are impacting the lives of those 26 youth on that tree as they branch out, literally.
Yeah.
And you can just see how the faces of those kids light up when they see, as they were walking in the center when we were leaving, right? They were lighting up to see their teachers because they get to teach them how to do something that we all take advantage for.
So for the non-Scottish Rite Masons that are listening, can you just give a 30-second elevator speech on what the Masonic Learning Centers are for?
So dyslexia is it's a debilitating disorder that impacts and impedes life's most simple tasks. It flips letters and numbers for when you're reading. You may read things backwards or forwards, up to down, and the Learning Centers help youth specifically to learn how to focus on certain letters, certain numbers. It even teaches them about certain fonts that they can use. Instead of using an Arial or a sans serif or a serif, it shows them that an Arial font is better for them because there are block letters versus reading a Times New Roman that has tails. little things like that you learn now make it easier for you as a youth to be able to read and to be able to read well, and really focusing over a number of years helps them dramatically.
And this program's free?
It's completely free for the youth.
Absolutely free. It's about a 2-year program for most of the children. We remediate them is the word. They're not cured, so to speak. They're remediated so to help them to read. And that could be very scary for a child to be in a classroom and get called upon to read, and the other children make fun of them because they can't read the letters like you and I can. We have a past Grand Master of New Jersey that speaks quite a bit about dyslexia because he was dyslexic as a child, and he told us that Sunday night was the worst night of the week for him because he knew if he closed his eyes, he'd wake up and have to go to school in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And he was so fearful of having to go there and get called upon in class to get up and speak. And you hear this from other people that are dyslexic. Yep. So we're doing the right thing. We have a lot of children on the waiting list to get in. But we're doing our best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have 42 centers throughout the Northern Masonic 15 states, in 13 of the 15 states, and about 860 total youth are active in the program right now.
Very nice.
Yep.
And you guys are trying to get around to see all the valleys and all the learning centers?
Yeah, I have a goal of visiting all the valleys. I think we have 103 or 104 of them, but that's over 10 years.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to pick up the average right now at the beginning, so when I get tired near the end of my 10-year term, I can coast a little bit.
At this pace, he may be done in 2 years. Who knows? Not done with his job, but done with all the valley visitation.
But yeah, I just keep accepting the invitations if my schedule's clear.
And so you had dinner last night with the Valley of Lancaster
Lancaster officers and some of the 33rds. We had a nice visit with them. We did, besides the Learning Center in their facility, they have some beautiful lodge rooms, and I saw the room where the Valley holds their functions, and it's quite a nice facility.
Yeah, so once you go in the back and the costume rooms and the makeup rooms, it's really professional.
Yeah, really a very nice facility, and the Valley of Lancaster does a great job with what they do. And one thing we saw was their fundraising operation there for the for the dyslexia centers. They've sold 2,000 pies, and we saw the boxes for the pies, and we saw the boxes of eggs and everything they're going to put together for it. It's just unbelievable the work that the Valley does to support the dyslexia center.
Yeah, I got it goes back. You just need to ask people. So I've not been the most active Scottish Rite Mason. I'm a good dues-paying member, but I'm not the most active.
That makes you good.
Yeah. And, it was like 2 years ago, I was in the center, and somebody goes, "Hey, Pete, could you help out with pies tomorrow?" Sure. You asked, so I'll do it. And, because I think I was the only person under 60 in the room. I had the heaviest lifting job, pulling the hot pies out of the commercial ovens, and I left with like little itty bitty burns all over my arms.
Oh goodness!
So
it's a mean operation. I've not seen anything like it.
It's physically intensive when they make the pies. It's
we got a full 40-minute tour of the kitchen.
Nice.
Yes, we got a great picture of it too. But
yeah.
Dave meeting with a few of the tour guides. It's pretty.
Was he wearing a hairnet?
Well, they weren't cooking at the time.
Well, they didn't have hair either.
But it is interesting getting around to see people in the various valleys. I was in Cincinnati last week and Pittsburgh the week before. I had a chance to get up to Portland, Maine, and we've got a lot of other valleys on the schedule, but it's just so interesting to see how they do things. And one of the phrases I like to use is that we all do the same thing differently. And it sounds like an old George Carlin line or something, but we all arrive at the same end, the same goal, but how it's done in each valley is different, and that's very interesting to me to see the certain touches each valley puts on, for their own degrees and everything they do. It's really nice.
Are there any challenges, any requests, anything that you'd like us and our listeners maybe to try and improve ourselves, like with the program, or how to help out other Masons, and help out the Scottish Rite, and how can this,
Well, I think our message of taking care of our members needs to go down to the lodge level. I think each lodge needs whatever you call it, a Brotherhood Fund, an Almoner's Fund, a Hospitaller Fund. There should be one in every lodge, and every lodge should be making contact with their members at least once a year. You said you paid your dues, so you're a good Mason. I agree with you. What defines a good Mason? I said a Mason that pays his dues and proud to be a member. Definitely, because the dues-paying members feed the members that show up every meeting.
Right.
So, but I think that every member is entitled to be contacted. He's in a fraternity. We don't want to find that he's in a hospital somewhere and no one from the lodge knew or contacted him. I mean, that takes away from everything that we knelt at our altar for.
Right.
So, yeah, if we can pass a message around that every lodge needs to keep in touch with every member, that would be important.
Yeah, well, I think neat little thing I saw in Gettysburg I mentioned to you yesterday, the brothers that attend the lodge meeting, they each reach in a fishbowl and they grab a name of someone who hasn't been at a meeting in 12 months. And at the next meeting, between the next meeting, they have to call, hopefully bring him, and if not, at least report back, what the outcome was. And, it's not going to be, you're not going to contact everybody in a month, but as a year or two goes by, you're going to get everybody.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I like that.
So we have anything else on your tour here? You're in Harrisburg today.
In Harrisburg today and tomorrow.
And how about your Giving Tuesday, Michael?
We head back on Sunday, and we have a big event coming up for Giving Tuesday. It's the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving, so you think Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you're spending money, going to corporations, right? Mm-hmm. So Giving Tuesday is really the first chance you get to give to charitable organizations, and it kicks off the giving season, right? More money is donated in the last quarter of the year than the first 3 quarters combined to charitable organizations. We have 4 incredible charities at the Scottish Rite, with the Grand Dominus Fund that we mentioned earlier, the dyslexia centers that we've also discussed. We also have 2 others in the Masonic Museum and Library and the Leon M. Abbott Scholarship Fund that provides funding for youth to pay for college. For Masonic families, Masonic-related families, or Masonic youth groups. But we have and are embarking on our most ambitious goal of raising $100,000 to $150,000 in one afternoon. Starting at 8:32 in the morning, we'll kick it off, and we'll have a video every hour. Videos from Grand Masters saying you should support the Scottish Rite charities. Videos from even Monica Glattly, the First Lady of the Scottish Rite, is doing a video to talk a little bit about her goals and what her passion is and why she chooses to give her money, her funds, and anything extra to support the Grand Dominus Fund and the Scottish Rite charities. So I would certainly say take a look. It's going to be all over email, Facebook, and of course we're going to be sending out some other mailers, but you could always give a donation to donaterite.org.
Okay.
And that's tax deductible. So
yeah, because this show will be out in about 2 weeks.
Oh, good.
So yeah, it'll be enough time to get that out to the audience.
I'll make sure. If we can get it out before Tuesday, that'd be good.
Well, we can do another soundbite before Tuesday.
That'd be great. No, it's I love our charities. I love what we do with the Scottish Rite. I love being a member. I'm a lowly 32nd degree, right? But
that's not lowly. 98% of our members are 32nd.
That's degree. Right, and I'm a very proud 32nd degree Mason. I every day, you saw it last night, I wear a scarf that says my 32nd degree. But I think, as Commander said, the more that we can promote, the more that we can over-communicate to our members, the better.
One quick plug, I guess, because, the third person in the room said he's not going to talk. But you guys are both DMLAs.
Yes.
Well, so I worked for DMLA as the executive director.
Oh, you weren't a DMLA?
No, sir. I unless people ask, I don't pretend to be.
Okay. Now, Commander, you were.
I was a DMLA, yes.
Yeah, DMLA boy from Crifton de Moray.
That's right.
Wow. So how long ago was that?
I joined DMLA in 1970.
So you're
almost 50 years.
You're a 50-year Mason, sort of.
Sort of, yeah. Well, I tell everybody I'm just a D. Malay boy from Clifton, New Jersey. And certainly D. Malay is what brought me into the fraternity, even though my father and grandfather were members of the lodge. But it was D. Malay that really interested me, and the friendships I made with the Masons in the lodge. And as soon as I turned 21, the age was 21 then, now it's 18, to join in New Jersey. And I joined right away. And but D. Malay is still in my heart. I mean, D. Malay is where I started, and I support it greatly today. And I'm lucky enough to be in this position, a Sovereign Grand Commander, where I can give D. Malay a plug whenever I can.
Very nice.
And D. Malay is doing very well right now. It's the only really Masonic-related group that's growing. Just last week, they reached growth already for the year, with a month and a half remaining for the international group. So more members were brought in this year than the previous year. More members were brought in than the previous year to that. So D. Malay's on a great path, I think.
Yeah, where I grew up, I never knew of D. Malay.
Yep.
My family wasn't a Masonic family, but I really wish I would have had it.
And that's what I tell all of our my brother Masons and D. Malays growing up, is to tell your friends. When I first started working for D. Malay as the executive director, I got a bunch of congratulations saying I was a D. Malay, and they were friends. They were guys I played sports with. They were guys that I was in my Eagle Scout class with, all of that. And I just got so frustrated with them, because I wish that I knew about D. Malay and about Freemasonry much earlier. Thankfully, I'm still a fairly young man.
You're still young enough. You can still
a fairly young man. I might still be able to. Well, I could probably sneak into a chapter, maybe, but I just want everybody to tell their friends about Freemasonry and about D. Malay, and that's what I continue to promote, even to today's me still serving as an advisor.
Well, that's awesome. Guys, thank you both so much for your service to the fraternity.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
And for agreeing to be on our hacky show.
Thanks for
anytime.
It's been great.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
There you have it. This is Jason again, and you just heard from the illustrious David A. Glattly, 33rd degree Sovereign Grand Commander of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of the Northern Masonic Jurisdiction, and also Michael Russel, the VP of Charity and Development for the Northern Masonic Jurisdiction, and our own Peter J. Ruggieri. And I was in the room too, but I had to excuse myself to go back to work. So big thanks to David A. Glattly, Michael Russel, Pete, great job. And thanks to all of our listeners for bearing through this hodgepodge of a show. And we'll get back to our comments about the path forward and what we think it means and how excited we are at a future show. Speaking of future shows, we will be, if you haven't heard already, at the Valley of Reading for their holiday celebration December 2nd in the evening, recording live. Well, not recording live, but we'll be recording there. And one last shout out to the Harrisburg Consistory for such a great reunion this fall, and for allowing us to use the facilities to talk to Brother Glattly and Brother Russell. We had a wonderful time. Without further ado, we'll time warp back to the Goose and Gridiron and wrap up.
Yeah.
All right. So what are you trying to do, Larry?
But what I want to say is we have with us Brother Dick Kenna, who's been on our show, and he had quite. It's hard. I'm having difficulty coming up with
a great moment in his life.
A great moment in his life and in his Masonic life as well. His son, Brent Kenna, was made a Master Mason last Tuesday night, and Dick was there. Dick was his guide, and I just wanted to get his take on it. It was a special moment.
It was a special moment for me. I know it was for him. I gained a new respect for not liturgy. How about ritual?
Ritual.
Sorry, Jack. It took me 7 months to learn the guide work, and to varying degrees of success. But my son was thrilled. he has been wanting to do this for a long time, and we finally put that all together for him and I. The lodge was gracious enough to allow me to do the guide work, and I appreciate that. It was a real special time for him and for myself, and we're looking forward to his first meeting in December. And it's been quite a spiritual ride. I have a very strong feeling about Freemasonry, and I think he has drawn upon that. And my brothers Maris and Tully have been a real big help in that as well. Larry was the second line signer, and they both showed up at his third degree, and it was really a special night. And he was surprised at the entire third degree and what happened, especially the second half. So it was great for me. It was great for him, and would recommend it highly if you have sons to become actively involved in the process of the 3 degrees and getting them involved in Freemasonry.
I think that's awesome. And just as a little special side note here, I've known Brent before he was born. Dick and I were neighbors 40 years ago, so we have a history together. And I've watched his little guy grow up, and now he's a man. And it was a special moment for me as well. So
I've known him since before he was born. Is that what he said?
Right.
Really?
I saw him in his mommy's belly.
Miraculous.
So, Dick, has anybody thrown a pen and body petitions at him yet?
No, if I have anything to say about it, they will not.
There you go. Thank you.
There you go. There you go.
For a while.
Thank you, Dick. Thanks.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.
Pete, I've got to get going, but one last question. When you leave the district, is your wife going with you?
Yes. She definitely is the better half.
Yes, I got to go.
All right, I think, Larry, we're done, right?
Yeah, I think we're done.
Take us home.
Take us home. All right, a little music, please. And I want to give special thanks to Monarch Studios for allowing us to record 40.5 and 40.75. And special thanks today to Movable Feast Restaurant in Mountville, Pennsylvania, for allowing us to record episode 41. Also, special thanks to Jason Lewis for the fine job he does in putting up with all of our shenanigans. And he always turns out a phenomenal broadcast. Special thanks to our news director, Jack Harley of Harley Davidson. He wishes.
I'm still waiting for my check.
And to our fearless leader, Pete Ujiri, who right now is in purgatory. That's all I can say. And that's pretty much it.
This is Jason Lewis.
Jack Harley.
Pete, bye.
Larry Maris, thanks for listening.
Good night.
Jason can't just leave it play. He has to try and, pause it.
Sorry.
And, just let him.
Says the guy who doesn't have to deal with this later.
Better than that mic drop where Jeff Moyer just embarrassed the hell out of me. It was awesome, and you didn't get it. Which is good for me, but it's bad for the show.
Are we on?
Well, what Jeff said is, Pete, when you leave, are you going to take your scars with you? But it was a lot funnier when Jeff said it.
Yeah.
What's the over-under on whether or not we're actually going to record this episode?
No, we're good.